I may be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong. Seriously, I mean, strict scientific method here. But I would speculate, my hypothesis is that 50 years from now, historians will look back at this era, and from about 2016, when Trump was first elected, and subsequent years, we don't know how long, will be known as the Trump Depression. And I would say that we should refer to current events as the Trump Depression with the same moronic, robotic repetition that MAGA people use their version of the truth and just repeat it, and it becomes. So we should just assume that this is the Trump Depression. Why do I say this is Trump Depression? Obviously, we're in economic trouble, and we're not just losing jobs, but all the projections are we're going to have tremendous inflation, and we've already had some inflation. Since COVID, we've had, I've found that apartments, so we got pretty much, in my experience, apartment rents have gone up 100% in 4 years. And that's been my experience. So that's 25% a year. That's not 8%. That's 25% a year, and again, and again, and again. So apartment rate, grocery prices are going up and so forth. But because Trump's threat is so dangerous that we insist on ignoring it. Well, half of us do. Half of it, because a third of us think he's doing great. God, exactly the ticket. Because here's a rich guy, and he gets some stuff right. Yes, everything since 1970, 1980 has gone down the tubes, and I'm old enough to remember. You can't. People are getting poor and getting thrown out of their houses all over the place. We just want to repress it because it's too ugly. But it's been a big downhill, and there's been tremendous imbalance in how wealth is distributed. So, we got $20 million yearly paychecks now. In 1980, that was just insane. Nobody heard about that. 1990, okay, maybe super athletes. But, the head of CVS makes $20 million a year. CVS does more business than the country of Greece, of course. Bigger GMP than whole countries. So, he's an executive. So you get a guy like Trump, he said, well, why shouldn't I make at least $20 million a year? And he's getting billions. Of course, he's a shrewd character. So what's the story? We're at the mercy of all these rich guys that are making fantastic. Even the movie stars. Movie stars are worth, movie stars are worth $60 million. Well, what? $30 million? And the really good ones, the female ones, they're worth $4 million. Whoopie-doo, $4 million. But still, $4 million is pretty good income. You can make 10% on stuff. If you invest in Berkshire Hathaway, you're going to get, 20%? So if you're a billionaire, and there's tons of billionaires everywhere, right. Well, how many millions in a billion? It's 1,000 million. So 10% of 1,000 million is 100. So 20% is $200 million. You're getting at least doing nothing just by having $1 billion. You're going to make $100 million. Just sit back and it's $100 million. It's $2 million a week. Okay? And there's a ton of that stuff around. That's not my income. That's not your income, I would contend. So we've got this tremendous imbalance, and here comes this guy. Look, I'm a billionaire. I know what's going on. They're cheating you because I'm a slime bag. So these guys are slime bags. I'm going to be your slime bag and, win. So far, he's won big, and still it's the same because guess what? He's a slime bag and lies a lot. So let me talk about trust, and let me talk about a big liar, okay? Well, everybody lies, right? All businessmen are full of baloney and so forth. But when the world doesn't proceed on, okay, liars win. But trust is what wins, okay? So you look at the economic system, and what do we got? We got a piece of paper that says, you give me this piece of paper, I promise you it's going to be worth the same if you're buying something else. So, you deliver groceries, you get $10 for delivering the groceries, you can spend that $10 almost anywhere because other people are going to trust that they're going to be able to spend that $10 everywhere else. But that's all trust. It's basically, in reality, that's a piece of paper. Now, back when Richard Nixon was president, if you had a $10 bill, you could say, well, geez, give me something, that isn't a little more tangible than, I'm not saying let's barter here, but give me something that everybody's going to recognize as valuable. And it's not just, your word and signature with some pretty pictures on it and, honorable people from history like Jackson, who's their whole other story. But in any case, there's, oh my gosh, a president with a background and a history, a sinner as president. Ooh. So anyway, give me something that's worth $10 really all around the world. Well, it's gold, and it's always been gold until Nixon. And then he says, I tell you what, there's a lot of dollars around there, for some good reasons. After World War II, we gave tons of dollars to the rest of the world. Nobody's done this before. These are our enemies, these sworn enemies. Usually you win a war and then you conquer the enemy. But the United States says, no, let's give them dollars. Well, it's not as philanthropic as you may think. They all have dollars. What do dollars buy? American products. So, hey, our economy surprised 1950s, 1960s. Hey, we're making tons of money. This is great. And guess what? The rest of the world is making a ton of money. Everybody's getting rich. Europe's getting rich. China, they're stumbling along. Let's do it the American way. Oh, all of a sudden they're rich. Hey, America's got something going, but we're we're buying stuff on debt, and we're trying to pay all this stuff we've got. Oh, we've got to carry on. We have to pay $1 trillion for deterrence, for defense, because it's going to scare everybody. Nobody's going to give us any trouble because we're doing 4 times as much as China. Just recently, we spend 4 times as much as China on defense. So they're going to be intimidated. They're not going to try to push us around. Right? And these little guys, like in the Middle East, they're going to be so intimidated that when we get their oil and we give them dollars and they build up all this stuff, they're making a pretty good profit. They're going to say, well, let's continue to do business with America. We're not going to raise our prices because we're intimidated. Well, they're so intimidated around the time of Vietnam, when America seems to be overreaching a little bit, and starts, well, what's it based on? Oh, a big whopping lie. The Gulf of Tonkin. Little Vietnam attacked the United States. We've got, more defense spending than the rest of the world combined, with the exception of maybe Russia at the time, who's going to crush us. Oh my God, Russia, we got to spend money on defense. So we're spending all this money on defense. We get into whopping debt. We're sending all these dollars that are getting worth less and less because we're just cranking that printing press. It's not real money. It's called fiat money. It's money we made up. So now we've made up all this money. We've got a $14 trillion debt. Now what are we going to do with it? My God. Oh, Trump gets in. Everybody's picking on us. Look, everybody got rich off of us. We're poor little America. Oh, we're not number one. We're little teeny scared little. But we're going to intimidate. For example, you can't just invade a country, just violate their sovereignty for no good reason. We're America. If we tell you what to do, you stand in line because, we spend trillions of dollars on, we got defense and scary, be scared of the United States. So, why? Well, you know what? The rest of the world is going, gee, I think he's full of crap. What a surprise. The President of the United States tells lies. Now, we've had some great presidents that tell huge lies. And speaking of which, horrible scandalous personal lives. We've had some of the greatest leaders that I know from Massachusetts, some of the greatest leaders in Democratic American history, that if they were here today, would not be around today, they'd be in prison today, because today what they did was life imprisonment. Okay? But that's personal life. that's not taking over the government of the United States and destroying trust around the world. Everything is trust. The money system is a faith system. The money system is, believe me, this piece of paper is going to be worth some money. Now, back in the 60s, 70s, I was in importing business. In the 80s, my father was importing business from Italy. You bought tomatoes from Italy. You got to go through a bank. Why? You need a letter of credit. Why? When I purchase something and I give you money ahead of time, you better have a promise that's good. Don't just give me a verbal promise. You got to go to your bank. So your bank's going to cut you off if you don't pay your bills. So the bank is going to guarantee that payment. Otherwise, it's on, well, there's something behind it. It's a bank. But of course, currency is behind that bank. And the world banking system, if we've experienced in my lifetime, is about 10 minutes from collapsing unless people have faith. Any bank, and if you see, what's that movie where it's the Depression. You go to the bank, and banks worked then as they work now. If everybody in the bank wanted their money back today, you can't do that immediately. It's leveraged. It's only about a certain percentage, and that percentage grows and shrinks and stuff. And every time that percentage gets so overloaded, like they did with the banking situation, you can't deliver in real money, at least dollars, written notes, written IOUs. If you can't deliver what I've deposited in real hard currency, we get panicky. We want everything now, and you can't do everything now because the whole economy is built on faith and extended credit. No credit, no business, everything collapses, everything's horrible. No credit because no trust. You don't believe the United States of America anymore. Oh, we'll defend you. You're invaded. Oh, Russia? Russia comes to invade you? Russia! That's how we were ducking under school desks because of the atomic attack from Russia, okay? That was my lifetime. Russia attacks you? We're your brothers. We're America. And we're you. We're Italians, French, Spanish, all over the world. Afghanis. We're here. Come on. We're America. We're a land of immigrants. Not so fast. Not so fast. We don't trust you anymore. And that's why it's going to be the Depression. It's not simply going to be the economic depression. It's going to be a crisis of global faith. That's why he's so dangerous. That's why he's got to get the hell out as fast as possible.